In a world where brand experience is paramount, upholding your company's standards demands unwavering consistency in every location. At the SBOA, we understand the critical role consistency plays in driving your business's success. That is why we joined forces with MSI to introduce a revolutionary internal audit program tailored to meet the specific needs of your organization. Our game-changing audit program leverages cutting-edge technology and expert insight to bring you unparalleled accuracy and reliability. We know that success in this competitive environment is paved with adherence to operational requirements, and every company has its own standards along with state and local regulations to adhere to. So we've made our internal audit system completely customizable, all in a user-friendly app. The app enables on-site agents to collect real-time data and insights from their respective locations. This feature ensures that information is up to date and allows for quick responses to any issues or challenges that could arise. Our internal audit program also has advanced photo and video reporting capabilities. These visual reporting tools allow leadership to visualize non-compliant sites and gain a comprehensive understanding of the issues, with specific examples for clear context, which enhances communication and leads to faster resolutions. And it can be done with just a few clicks and the snap of a photo or quick video. And our program provides an in-depth understanding of each store's performance and challenges. This feature allows for a comprehensive assessment of how well each location adheres to operational requirements and brand standards, helping to identify areas for improvement. Are you ready to take your self-storage business to the next level? Explore our comprehensive suite of services, including internal audit programs, mystery shopping, and reputation management, and unlock your full potential. Contact us today to embark on a journey of excellence and success. 248-954-9000.
Are you a self-storage owner or operator looking for service providers to help at your facility? Well, the Storage Business Owners Alliance, also known as the SBOA, has you covered. The SBOA is the premier online hub for connecting self-storage owners and operators to industry-leading products and service providers. We provide one-stop shopping for your business with exclusive offers to save time and money. At the SBOA, we believe by coming together, we help owners and operators grow revenue, gain purchasing power, reduce expenses, improve efficiencies, and increase profitability. We also offer many resources such as our conferences and Self-Storage Unlocked webinars to help self-storage owners and operators gain the knowledge needed to become more competitive in the industry. To become an SBOA member or to find out more information, please visit www.thesboa.com today. We can't wait for you to join the Alliance.
At Storable, we exist to help you do more. And our success? It's tied directly to yours. That's why we continue to innovate, working directly with you to address your pain points. And it's why we continue to deliver best-in-class solutions and the industry's only all-in-one, end-to-end integrated suite of products. So you can continue your best-in-class operations and stay ahead of the competition.
Good morning and happy Thursday, self-storage industry. Thank you for joining the SBOA's Self-Storage Unlocked for another one of our great episodes and educational webinars. Today, I have Chuck Gordon from Storable with us. Chuck is the CEO of Storable. And a few weeks ago, Storable hosted a webinar talking about some key data and analytics and some trends that they've seen over the year that we'll discuss here a little bit today with you all. And we will give you direction to go view that webinar after this webinar today. Lots of great information shared in that webinar. So I highly encourage all of you to join that webinar. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jessica Johnson. I'm the president of the Storage Business Owners Alliance, better known as the SBOA. As you saw in that commercial this morning, we have a program called Storage for Rookies. Our final Storage for Rookies will be in 2 weeks on December 14th at 11 a.m. Anyone that's new or newer looking to get into the self-storage industry, that is a great training session for you. So please take a look at that information on our website. And before I get started, I see the chat is blowing up. So that's great. That's where you'll communicate with us today. If you have questions for Chuck or myself as we go through today's webinar, please ask those questions in the chat. We will also ask you a couple poll questions throughout today's webinar. And if you could answer those poll questions for us, it just helps us get to know you better, know what type of content we need to bring to you to help with your educational journey here in the self-storage industry. So huge shout out to Storable as well for joining us today. We could not do these sessions without our great partners out there in the industry. So I want to thank Chuck and his team for coordinating today with us. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Chuck up and we're going to get this thing rolling. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Jessica. Good morning, everyone who joined today. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. And again, the chat's blowing up. This is probably our best attended webinar we've had all of 2024 or 2020. Look, I'm already trying to get next year of 2023. Sorry. So Chuck, I think you should take that as some kudos to you and your team because everyone's curious about the leading tech provider, Storable, in the industry. So Chuck, give me a breakdown of who you are, what you do, and what Storable is all about.
Sure. So my name is Chuck Gordon. I'm the CEO of Storable. A little quick version of my story. I originally started Sparefoot back in 2008 when I was still in college and spent the next 10 years building Sparefoot into the leading online marketplace for our beloved storage industry. And then in 2018, we made a deal to acquire SiteLink, the leading software provider in our space. Combined the two companies, created the Storable brand, and then really went on a mission to create the leading all-in-one technology platform for self-storage operators to dramatically simplify daily operations and help our customers ultimately make more money and provide a better experience to tenants. So since then, we went to acquire a whole long list of top companies in our industry. I won't read them all out here, but if you fast forward to today, Storable offers a comprehensive suite of products and services kind of centered around that facility management software system of record with integrated payments, insurance, access control, websites, and most recently, Call Potential. We brought into the fold as well, and now we're selling their set of products as part of Storable too. And there's a few other things we do as well, but that's kind of at a high level who Storable is, and really our mission is to help storage operators run better businesses. And so hopefully today we'll get to talk about what's going on in the industry, what we're seeing out there across our wide-ranging view. We have more than, or almost now, 32,000 facilities using one of our facility management softwares, SiteLink, StoreEdge, or Easy Storage Solutions. And we have more than 42,000 facilities using at least one of our products. So I feel like we have a pretty wide-ranging view of what's going on out there, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you guys today.
Yeah, you definitely do. I mean, those are very impressive numbers when you're capitalizing on more than half of the market and the facilities that are out there. So I would say that this data is good data and data that all owner and operators should be looking at. And with the popularity and rising demand of managing facilities in a remote fashion, this is super relevant because all of your products can tie into getting an owner to that end goal of being fully remote. So definitely want to talk about some of those key data points. So Chuck, with those many facilities, tell me what Storable is really analyzing and what you're looking at to make shifts in your product development or enhancements to support certain products to help owners and operators out there.
Sure. So really what we try to do in our product development process is bring to life the features and functionality that help solve our customers' most critical and prioritized business needs. And so the first step of doing that is to put everything in the context of what's going on in the macroeconomic environment. So if we take a couple steps back and just talk, what's going on in the economy today, you have rising interest rates, although they haven't risen for a little bit, but they, went up from almost nothing to in the fives in a relatively short period of time. That has had a significant impact on storage owners and operators' ability to finance deals. We also have inflation continuing to be really high. Hasn't continued to go up, which is good, and maybe come down a little bit, but it's still high. And interestingly, you have unemployment remaining low, which doesn't really match with the other two stats I just mentioned. So how does, those are the kind of big trends we see. And then we say, okay, well, how are those things impacting the actual storage industry itself? And so I'm going to pull up a couple slides here just to show you some actual stats from our user base.
Absolutely.
Give me 1 second to do that.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah. And I mean, I think, the economists are still predicting that there is going to be, another increase in rates before it's all said and done, maybe one, maybe two, I think maybe just one. But that's something that we still need to be, combative of in these deal processes to make sure that the deals actually pencil out for us. So.
Yep, exactly. Okay, so just going to walk through a couple slides here. This one is an interesting one because it shows the move-in to move-out ratio. So, for example, in any number that is over 1 means that there are more move-ins happening than move-outs on a net basis. So, in 2021, the most amazing storage year of all time, we saw that we were at one point having almost 1.5 move-ins for every, move out. So that was a really, really strong point. And basically we held, incredibly strong on this trend for several years here during the COVID peak. But as you can see, as of August of this year, we're down into the negative territory, meaning there are more move-ins than move-outs. More move-outs than move-ins, which is actually typical of what you would expect, in the winter season. So I think what we're seeing here is a return to the norm.
Mm-hmm.
This slide shows historical occupancy. And so again, you can see here that since 2020, we have been on an upslope all the way until basically the end of 21. And then it's been pretty much steadily declining ever since, end of 22, middle of 22, pretty much steadily declining ever since then. The interesting thing is we're still at what I would consider a number that is above pre-COVID, right? Like we didn't give all of that up yet, but it is continuing to trend down. And so we looked at this by region as well and saw that basically it's the same kind of all across the country. There's no major difference. Now, of course, in any individual market, there will be very specific and different behavior, but overall, it's trending the same across the whole country. And so with that declining occupancy comes declining pricing. So we had basically month over month rent increases for the entire COVID years up until the middle of 22, where things started coming back down to earth as occupancy began to slip. And so this year, I think what's interesting is we would normally expect to see a pretty big pricing bump during the summer months. We just didn't see it this year. The season was extremely muted. And while we did pick up some occupancy and we did pick up a little bit of pricing, it was certainly not what folks are used to seeing. And similar to the regional view we looked at previously, same thing here. It's pretty much happening in the same way across all sectors of the country. Okay, so this one is interesting because it looks at the new unit rental rate versus the total rental rate. And so what I mean by those descriptions is new unit rental rate is the rate at which a tenant pays when they are a new tenant moving in. Total unit rental rate is the average rate that your in-place tenants are currently paying you. So you can see that even though new unit rental rate has been coming down very fast, people have still been able to push rent increases to existing tenants at a clip that is pretty much in line with historical norms. And that continues to go up and up. So pretty interesting. This is kind of the opposite or the inverse of that, which is, so I should say, the prior slide was on an absolute dollar amount. This next one here is on a per square foot. So what you can see, actually, the total rental rate is lower on a per square foot basis than the new unit rental rate, but it is continuing to creep up as that cohort continues to have its pricing expanded. But we will see, right, what happens here, because eventually there's going to be enough new move-ins at these lower prices that cause the total unit rental rate for the in-place tenants to start to come down. That's our assumption. And it just really depends here kind of what's going to happen with consumer tolerance for price increases going forward as to whether people can keep pushing rate as they have over the last few years.
Yeah.
Question?
I do have a question from the audience, and I just wanted to touch on your point where you were saying, you know, how throughout this year it kind of just was muted, as you said. And I mean, I think that directly correlates to, we're looking at search trends on Google. I think the last stat that I saw is, you know, overall search for self-storage on Google is down 10 to 12% year over year. So there's less demand and less people looking for it. So I think that's why we didn't have, you know, the seasonality that maybe we thought we would have. And then Jeff is asking a question, Chuck, do you feel that predatory rate increases have had an impact on the occupancy numbers?
Well, let me first handle the Google question. So actually, that was a perfect setup for me, Jessica, on this slide.
Sure.
This is search demand, and this is from Google. So what you can see here on this blue line is 2023. There was no seasonal jump in the summer at all, right? So search demand, consumers looking for storage on Google, is absolutely down. We think it's more like 20%.
Oh, wow.
And we think that the reason for that is because way less people are moving.
Sure.
You know, the cost for someone who's like, if you're locked into a 3% mortgage today, the cost for you to go buy a new house and have to get a 7.5% mortgage means your buying power is down by like 40%. Mm-hmm. And so people just aren't moving, they're stuck.
Yeah.
So we think that is the leading cause of the decline in consumer demand.
Makes sense. Awesome. How about Jeff's question about the predatory rate increases having, well, you had said you think it's more based on the overall search demand, or do you think that this has had a play in it too?
So predatory rate increases, maybe you get a little more what you mean by that. You mean where someone advertises a low rate and then
I think he's probably
3 months later, jacks it up by 100%. Is that what we're kind of talking about here?
I think he's hinting to a certain group out there, but yes, yeah, I believe that's what he means by that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say because, if the tenants end up paying that, then, and they stay, then, maybe it's just a new marketing strategy that, I don't personally like it, but if the tenants are okay with it, my concern with it would be, how long is it before those consumers start complaining to people who, will listen to the complaints?
Sure.
I actually recently rented a storage unit and I moved in, and then 3 months later, they told me my price was going up by 20%, which I thought was really high for 20%, but it's not 100%,
Mm-hmm.
And I called them and they got it down to 10%. So
yeah. And I share my story with people as well. I rent from one of the big REITs. For me, I'm a classic tenant. It was the closest, the cheapest to my home at the time, right? Because everybody's like, you're in self-storage and you didn't search more. Well, yeah, I searched, right? But same thing, Chuck. I've been with that group now. June would have been a year. So let's say 16 months, and I've been increased 3 or 4 times, very hefty increases. All of those increases happen when it's 110 degrees in Jacksonville, Florida. And I am definitely not going to go move an outdoor non-climate unit in that type of heat. So they got me, and then, there's some regulations that owners put where it's probably right now it would be cheaper for me to go in, move out, move back in. But there's some that don't let you do that for the same unit size because they know what you're trying to do by getting that current rate. So I'm locked in. It's happening out there, and it's going to happen probably for a while here unless somebody does something that's against regulation, gets their hands slapped. So.
Right. Yeah. And honestly, because of the situation here where new unit rental rates are dropping and demand is down, the in-place rent programs are really the only major lever that operators have. So what do you do when you only have one lever to pull? You pull it harder. And that's what they're going to do. Absolutely.
The general theme at all the shows that I attended this fall was ECRI, and capitalizing on that. And owners need to, locking people in for a year at a certain rate. These are month-to-month rental agreements. You shouldn't do that. You should have dynamic pricing. You should have rate increases on a routine schedule. It will help your business. So, Chuck, anything else that you wanted to share with us on these slides?
So I think the last thing I would, just to tie all that back to your original question of how are we thinking about our product strategy in response to these market conditions? Our view is that we are facing a period, TBD how long, of declining occupancy, declining pricing, and ultimately that means declining revenue. So what can we do as Storable to help our customers navigate this storm? And the 3 kind of main things we're focused on are operational efficiencies. So what are we doing to make it so that your team and your staff has to spend less hours doing mundane day-to-day tasks? Maybe that means you can have less staff. Maybe that means you can operate more remotely. Maybe that means you can have your team focused on more revenue producing efforts like ECRIs or, insurance. So that's kind of one bucket of focus for us. The second is on incremental revenue. So what are new revenue streams that you can bring to your business to help you actually grow revenue? And that's really where we're focused on our unique features in the insurance world. So we've launched a really exciting auto protect program that essentially enables you with a click of the button to basically make the tenant have to provide proof in an automated way through a portal of their own insurance without having to rely on your manager to do it, which, as we all know, is never perfect. And we've seen our customers be able to increase their enrollment rates from 40 to 60, 70+% just by turning this feature on. That's just found money, and it better protects your consumers anyway. So that's cool. And we have a couple other really exciting insurance features coming down the pike with Storable Insurance as well that will help further that kind of expansion of revenue in the insurance realm. And then the other thing we're doing, which I think in tough times can be easily forgotten, which is cybersecurity. The worst thing that could happen to anyone is data breach. Someone hacks your customers, or your organization is phished and, held for a ransomware attack. All of those things are usually not at the top of people's minds, but they need to be, especially in times like this where people out there are desperate. So
and listen, guys, they penetrated the MGM properties just in September. If you think it's not going to happen or can't happen to you, you better think again, because I promise you, a gaming casino type environment is heavily protected, and they got breached. So come on.
Yeah. And so this is one of the big benefits of being with Storable, right? We have the scale and resources to invest literally millions of dollars on our cybersecurity infrastructure every year. We have everything from a team that focuses on it exclusively. Our employees probably are sick of it, but we make them take monthly trainings where they have to actually pass the course on cybersecurity defense. We have, extremely advanced application monitoring and alert threat and detection prevention across our stacks. Last year over the last year, there were 20 million attempted enterers that we blocked with our threat detection systems. So it's real. And it's just, again, that's something that you get for free as being part of the Storable family, because we have the resources to actually do that.
Yeah, and hackers are smart, right? Like, they know what we're collecting on our end. We have driver's license numbers in some scenarios, birth dates, credit card information. I mean, all of that is highly secure information and data that should be protected. Chuck, I know you were mentioning maybe some insurance enhancements. Is cyber insurance possibly going to be one of those? And I'm only mentioning that because we know a provider for people that, for small businesses, it's actually through our professional employment organization that we use to run like our payroll, workers' comp. They do have cyber insurance too. So if someone is to get breached, you're protected.
So we don't offer any sort of cyber insurance.
Okay.
What we do have, our insurance offerings are tenant insurance and property and casualty insurance. So like for your buildings,
Gotcha.
which is another one where, Storable can bring unique value because we are doing it for so many different buildings that we can get discounts that others can't. So yeah, that's kind of a relatively new one added to our fold as well. We've been able to save people a bunch of money on that. That's
awesome. And I love the auto enroll. And I mean, I love the penetration rates that you guys see by just simply flipping on a switch. And, here's what happens because, SBOA, we have our insurance division too. And what we see, property managers are afraid to sell it. They don't feel like they're trained enough to sell it sometimes in some scenarios, no matter how well we train them. I don't think they like to ask for the sale in some situations. And if you give them the opportunity to bring you something back to prove it, they're not going to. So it's like auto enroll them.
It removes that entire friction from your staff having to deal with it, having to manage to it with your staff. It just automatically happens. It's amazing.
Yeah, I love it.
I will say I am noticing here that Brian Bogdanoff, who leads our P&C division, just messaged that we do actually offer cyber liability coverage as part of our property and casualty insurance. So I stand corrected. Talk to Brian.
Yeah, trust me. I'm constantly asking my team, what do we do? What again? Tell me what we're doing. I get it, Chuck. They're all working for us behind the scenes really well. I love it. So if we could go back, and I love these categories that you guys broke this into, the operational efficiencies. I mean, someone the other day, actually it was Jim Mooney. He was on a session the other day, and I love that he said this because I think this makes sense. We have to sometimes, and especially now in this trying economic state, go back to the basics. good customer service, asking for reviews, keeping your property clean, local community marketing. We're done with the high wave right now. Maybe it'll come back in the future, but it's gone and we are back to reality. So let's talk about some of these occupancy rates that are dropping and the impact that we think that it's possibly going to have.
So just generally, like, what do we think the impact of the dropping rates and lowering occupancy overall?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think people are obviously, as we discussed, focused on in-place rent increases. I think that we are going to see an increase in marketing dollars being deployed across the industry. A great example of that with some hard data is just what we're seeing on SpareFoot. So right now on SpareFoot, the number of facilities that are live on a year-over-year basis is up almost 50%, 50. And the bidding activity also is at some of the highest levels we've ever seen in 15 years. So all that's happening, but you have to remember consumer demand is down 15-20%. So there are more people trying harder to get less consumers. So I think that same thing is true on Google paid search, Bing, any other paid media channels that you might be using. And so that just means that the cost of advertising is going to go up because people are willing to pay more for a more constrained set of customers.
Yeah, definitely. I know in your presentation, you were talking about a pretty large delta between the current straight rates and existing customer rates. Do you think there's going to be price sensitivity with these customers as we bring them to current rates that is a potential threat of them moving out?
It's certainly possible. Yeah, I mean, I think that remains to be seen a little bit since this is all kind of new.
Yeah, for sure.
Historically, people have been able to run, the standard rent increase program over the course of years without too much churn. But maybe, it just depends how much distress the, current tenant is under. And I think time will tell. Yeah,
because I mean, gosh, additional income is at an all-time low, or having, dispensable income. So it's, if it comes down to them paying, I think we're going to see delinquencies steadily increase, right? I think it's going to become harder and harder for some of these tenants to actually pay their bills. So we may see an uptick in collections. I want to ask you a question. So you mentioned earlier that you have acquired a lot of different companies throughout the years. Most recently, the Call Potential acquisition occurred, which I think makes complete sense for their suite of services and how that can just directly, come into the fold of the Storable suite, especially their lead management and what that can capture. Talk to me about why you guys felt that there was synergy there and kind of how that deal unfolded.
Yeah, for sure. So we've always liked Call Potential, and I've known Phil for a really long time. So we've always talked about it and had a lot of mutual respect for each other. And I think, for us, it was about when is the right time, and the timing just kind of worked out for what Phil needed and what we were trying to do. So that's kind of the history of it. But the reason why we wanted to do the Call Potential deal is because they have an amazing suite of products. Their contact center platform is by far and the best way for a self-storage operator to run their own internal call center. Like no comparison in my book. Their automated collections tools, I mean, that's a feature that we get asked about all the time. And so for us to be able to have one already built that's really great that we can add into the Storable fold is huge. And then, their lead manager product as well is something that, really helps operators increase the rate at which they can convert new sales leads, which in times like these, where every lead matters, every rental matters, is so crucial. So our view is that by taking the Call Potential products, which are already great, getting them into the hands of the Storable kind of go-to-market teams, we can bring those tools to way more people as part of this bigger organization and ultimately help more customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've always loved their product line too, and what it can do. Plus, it takes away, as you were mentioning earlier, some of those mundane tasks for property managers. They're also uncomfortable tasks. I know I don't want to make collection calls. So if you can automate that process, it's just the uncomfortable call that you have to make. But again, getting back to basics, these are things that, property managers and owner operators should be looking at for sure. And I know follow-up is a key with those leads too. And I know Scott Warden has presented with us before from Call Potential. And I know the stats that they see on the Call Potential side is, there's probably follow-up after that initial lead comes in, and then it steadily just decreases from there. I mean, you've got to keep them on a routine, like in your face type of workflow, because everyone's distracted, right? I mean, you get a notification, you pick your phone up, maybe they were going to rent from you and they got distracted. So their cart's abandoned. You should have all those triggers set so people are getting those notifications because they probably did have intention and just got distracted. So, you talked in your webinar that you guys did, and we saw this theme a lot throughout the fall as well, not only the ECRI theme, the emergence of artificial intelligence and how that is going to play a direct role into the self-storage industry. We see different companies coming in with some of these automations, like chatbot through Swivel is a really good one to mention that we like to use. What has Storable got in their pipeline as far as artificial intelligence emergence and what you guys can do with your products?
Great question. So Storable is definitely focused on AI in a major way. In fact, we created a Storable Labs team exclusively dedicated to bringing new products to market that are based on generative AI. So we just started this effort a few months ago. Call Potential actually had their own AI labs effort going on before we got involved with them. And so we're kind of working out how those two play together, but they've been doing some really amazing stuff with kind of automating the phone attendant in a way that you might not need to have as many call center agents. Mm-hmm. So that's some pretty cool stuff under construction there. And then, yeah, for us at Storable, we're looking at everything from chatbots to what we call conversational FMS, meaning where instead of having to click around a bunch of buttons to do things in your software, you can give it a ChatGPT-like command and it can just do it for you.
Wow.
Among, a long list of other ideas that we're testing out and working on. So yeah, I would say over the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to see a lot of new, exciting innovation that is AI-based coming from Storable.
Yeah, that's amazing. And thank you for mentioning all those things that you guys are doing behind the scenes. This is another one that kind of relates to behind the scenes. You guys have, 32,000 people in one of your FMS systems, 42,000 locations on one of your product lines. Those are huge numbers. I'm sure you're getting constant customer feedback from all the people that use your services. So how do you take that and put that into your development process?
Jessica, I don't know what you mean. No one ever asks for anything.
Listen, I know people in this chat right here, like a Jim Mooney, who's probably asked you for 50 different reports, custom
Jim,
reports that he wants.
Jim would never do that. Of course, we get tons and tons and tons of feature requests, bug fix requests. I mean, that's the name of the game for a software company. It's the job of our product managers to take all of those requests, figure out which ones are the highest priority based on impact across our user base, ability to fit within the themes of what we're trying to focus on, the operational efficiency and the increasing revenue. And, it's a hard job to be a product manager of a very widely used and popular product like Storable's FMSs, because there are a lot of people who want a lot of things and you can't do them all. That's just a practical reality. But yeah, that's kind of how they try to think about it, is fitting into those themes and overall impact to the most people.
Which makes total sense, right? You can't have your product development team doing these one-offs that, someone has this pie in the sky dream that's not going to be mutually beneficial to the masses, right? I mean, we're only so deep and can go so far. There were 2 poll questions asked of the audience, and I just want to mention those. The last poll question, though, kind of leads me into my next. Oh, actually, let me go back real quick before I go into this. If someone had an idea for a new feature, a new report, like the Jim Mooney's of the world, how do they get in touch with you? Do they pick up the phone and call? Is there an email where they can send that into tech support and say, we have this suggestion? How would they get that to you guys?
Yeah, so they can submit it through a support agent who will pass it along to our product team. Or if you happen to know one of the people on our product team, you can always just submit it to them directly.
I think Jim has a permanent seat next to some of their desks at your probably corporate office. Well, you don't have a corporate office anymore, right? You guys all went remote like us. Yeah. So
yeah,
I know
we are actually, that's one of the things we're working on improving for this year. We're planning to invest in a platform that makes it easier to submit feature requests and kind of track them.
Got it.
So that'll be improved here as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, everybody's just trying to improve year over year, right? Based on what we see through our customer trends and analytics, and self-storage owners and operators should be no different to that. So the 2 poll questions, the first one was, and I would love the audience to go back and answer this if you can. Are you interested in learning more about how Storable can help you run a more efficient and profitable business? Yes or no? The answers better be yes, guys. If they're no, we'll have a separate conversation. Second question, there's some rumblings, Chuck, that Storable may potentially in 2024 host a user conference. Tell me a little bit about that. And then the audience, I want to know from you, if Storable were to do this, would you go attend?
Well, honestly, we are just in the discussion phase, so I don't really have much to share. Just trying to get a sense of, with this poll question, do people have an appetite to get on a plane and go to another event? Obviously, if we did it, it would be, I think, pretty amazing. And we could have all kinds of different education tracks, time where you could spend with Storable experts, looking at your specific instances, getting questions answered, networking with your peers, all focused around Storable products. So, just hoping to get a sense of how willing people would be to do it if we were to put the resources behind making it happen.
That's awesome. Well, we hope that you guys do put something together. I know that I would attend. I see a lot of people in the comments saying, yes, they would attend. Depends on location. So I guess that we always play that in event planning. We try to get people to warm climates if they go from cold and vice versa. So Chuck, let me ask you a couple final questions here. I always love asking this of people and they shake their head, but if you were to have a crystal ball and could predict at least Q1 of 2024 and some things that may happen, do you see any major shifts? Do you think it's kind of going to remain just a steady course? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it really depends on the state of the consumer. So if we remain in a log jam where moving continues to be down, and therefore consumer demand for storage remains depressed, then I think you're going to see more of the same conditions that we've seen this year, which will mean more decline in price, more decline in occupancy. Now, do I think things are falling off of a cliff? Absolutely not. Storage is an incredible industry, and it is highly resilient, and we are watching that play out right now. If you compare our industry to, for example, trucking right now, when they hit a wall, they actually hit a wall. We are not really hitting a wall. It's coming back down to earth. But I would expect at least another year of it being difficult, honestly.
Yeah, I would echo that sentiment too. Let's see here. I'm trying to go back through my questions that I have over here. Let's talk about, and you were saying, right there with just consumers and what's going on with consumers. But I think another big critical piece here that I would like to talk about, especially as it relates to technology, is the user experience. And how it's an absolute must that there's no friction in that process. So talk to me about how you guys are looking at removing some of those friction points. So it just makes that online rental or reservation process that much easier for a consumer.
Yeah, for sure. So our goal is to get as many rentals off the internet as possible, whether that be through Sparefoot, through your own website, through a third-party website you might be using that's integrated with your Storable FMS product. So what we're doing is launching a whole slate of new online move-in technologies that will enable that to happen in a much more simplified way. So, for example, we are right now beta testing full online rentals within the Sparefoot platform. So the consumer can reserve and actually fully move in and sign a lease and pay on Sparefoot without ever having to go to a different website. Okay. And our hope with that is, one, it removes all the hours of work that would need potential hours of work from your internal resources that would be used following up with that customer, getting them to sign the lease, walking them to their unit, et cetera, et cetera. And it actually increases the move-in rate of your reservations. So we've seen in our initial testing that we can get more reservations to move in if they complete the rental online. So we're excited about that one. That same technology is being brought to our website products as well. And so we think that we're going to be able to provide a lot of benefit there in the same exact way.
That's awesome. We have a question here from Jeff in the audience. What do you see as an average occupancy target now that things have started to stabilize?
That is a great question. Our projection for overall industry occupancy in 2024 is in the mid 80s.
Mid 80s? Yeah, I was going to say probably mid to high 80s was going to be my guess.
Yep.
Awesome. Let's see. I know I had one more question in here. How about, we've seen a lot of slowing down of the mergers and acquisition side of the house. Deals just aren't penciling like they used to. We know that's a direct impact from some of the inflation and the rise in the interest rates that have happened. Do you think that sellers need to kind of get to reality here on their pricing, and we'll see some slips in, we're definitely going to see some decreases in price here, but what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think it totally depends on the seller. So if the seller needs to sell, then yes, they need to adjust their expectations. And there will be people like that because there's a lot of notes coming up next year that, they're not going to be able to refinance in the way that they had originally thought they were going to, which means they'll have to probably sell and they're going to have to take a lower price to do it. But if you're a long-term holder and you don't need to sell your property, then I wouldn't do it right now. I would wait because it's not like self-storage is going away. This is very different. I would feel different if I was owning a bunch of office buildings, right? That has like actual existential crisis written all over it, in my opinion. Storage doesn't, right? We're just seeing a little bit of a dip in demand and pricing and occupancy, but the long-term viability of this business is as strong as ever. So you don't have to sell now. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, absolutely. How about value-based pricing, dynamic pricing through revenue management? I know that there's, you have integrations with other systems, I believe, currently that help execute that. Is there any thought of maybe Storable coming up with their own product that would accommodate that?
Sorry, was that question the one Kurt just asked?
No, it's different. That's my question to you. Sorry, I'll bring up. Well, we'll go to Kurt's, but first, any revenue management internal that you guys are building yourself, or are you going to keep relying on maybe those APIs that you would have with like a Veritech or a ProRise?
Yeah, so all of our FMS platforms have revenue management features within them. Mostly rules-based, but you can set parameters for how you want to increase rates over time. You can do it in an automated way. So for most people, that gets the job done. If you want to be doing more sophisticated revenue modeling, revenue enhancing, and taking into account third-party data, then you need to use one of the partners who integrates with our API, like a ProRise or Veritech. Gotcha.
But nothing on the front of you guys doing something or making it more like one of those systems?
No, not on the roadmap, no.
Gotcha. Okay. wanted to ask, because I know people have asked me that before, and I said, I don't know, it would be a great question to ask them. Let's ask Kurt's question. Is Storable working on a virtual manager product like Stories to help run unstaffed offices?
Great question. And thank you for that, Kurt. So the answer is no. We are working with Stories and others like them to enable their business model. So we're, adding new things to the API. We're working closely with them to make sure they can do what they need to do. But we feel like that's not at the moment anyway, a core thing for Storable. And it's a benefit of the ecosystem that Storable has, that we have all these great smart companies out there developing kind of additional ways to enhance the FMS that you're already using.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love those products. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, Stories is essentially a virtual manager kiosk system. They have parameters where they can tell when people are entering into the lobby so they can interact with them live. Their virtual manager comes on screen and kind of helps walk them through the rental process. So it's a good touch point. I believe helps with some of that friction that we were talking about that potential consumers could have.
And one more point on that, the way we look at it is, especially when it comes to virtual, remote, automated management, there is no one way to do it. Just like there's no one way to run a storage facility, there is no one way to run a remote or unmanaged, whatever you want to call it, facility. So our view is we provide you with all of the tools you need to do it however you need to do it. And whether that means through our software directly, using a third party like Stories, using multiple third parties, whatever it may be, we want to enable you to do it through our platform, but we're not trying to come up with a product that says like, this is how to do it. If that makes sense.
Got it. No, totally makes sense. I'm going to ask this one from Kurt. Storable working on the ability to assign features to units at a unit level to help managers and call center agents differentiate between the different unit tiers inside of value price units, good, better, and best unit tiers.
We have a lot of work going on around tiering of units. So the short answer to that is yes.
And I noticed someone earlier had said too, I have to scroll back up. It was like one of the very first comments. It's a long comment, but basically they were saying something to the effect, Chuck, that I think it was on, let me see if I can find it. I think it was on, there it is. That's a big one. Sparefoot. Now with, I guess people trying to get the most out of their space, maybe they're changing up their unit mix and it's made their units, some of these like wonky off sizes. Is Sparefoot going to be able to modify that where people could pick from those type of odd sizes? Is I think what this question is asking.
I'm not sure I fully understand that, and there might be a workaround. So
yeah,
if Craig, if you want to just shoot me an email with a little bit more description on what you're asking there, I'll make sure to get it to the right people.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that, Chuck, and thank you for being here with us today. Any final closing comments you have for our owners and operators out there that are watching and listening, whether they're new or seasoned?
I think, we're all lucky to be in such an amazing industry. One, from a business perspective, two, from a people perspective. Part of the reason I love doing webinars like this, Jessica, is because I get to, chat with you, chat with all the people who are watching. It's one of my favorite parts of this job. So, the advice is it might be a tough year, but look at the bright side. We're still in self-storage. We've still got a lot of great people, and we'll pull through.
Yeah, there's much worse industries that you could have your money invested in that are not producing the returns at all. So I think you guys are in a good place. Craig's asking, can you get your email? We will send that. And just for our audience that may be newer to us today, all of our webinars that we host that are free are put right out onto our YouTube page. So if anybody missed any of today's broadcast, or you had to step away, you can go back and rewatch it on our YouTube. So please go subscribe to our YouTube page. Also earlier, and we'll put it up again, we have the link to the webinar that Storable and Chuck hosted a couple weeks ago, where some of those slides that Chuck showed us, I think he might have a little bit larger of a presentation and deck in that. And he went over some other stuff. So I highly encourage you guys to go back and watch that. And Chuck, when will we see Storable next year live? SSA ski workshop or SSA in March?
Yep, we'll have a couple people at the workshop and at SSA in March. So you'll see us there in both places.
Awesome. So audience, please look out for, upcoming events. Trade show season is officially over for 2023. I think all of us vendors out there are going, yes, we get a couple week break. But starting right back up in early January, we have the ski workshop this year in Canada with the SSA. Excuse me, followed by the big national show in March, and that will be at the National Harbor in the DC, Maryland area. Chuck, thanks again for hosting this with us. We're going to let you come off screen now. I have a couple final announcements. Again, pleasure to have Chuck here with us. Sorry, guys. I'm going to try to get through this without choking. I've been sick the past couple weeks. A couple final announcements. Storage for Rookies, like I said, Thursday, December 14th. I'm so sorry. I don't have any water on my desk right now either. Go figure. That we have a code up for a discounted ticket. Please go out there and get that discounted ticket. We have a lot of people participating with us. Next Thursday, December 7th, another free webinar, getting ready for 2024, what you should be doing to make sure your facilities are ready for the new year. Start the new year off with a bang. And I have a couple big announcements for you. The first big announcement is in the month of January, the SBOA is enhancing our membership program. There is a new elevated membership that you can have to join the SBOA. It is $9.99 a month. It is very inexpensive. It gives you exclusive access to some of our VIP groups, our training, our consultation, everything that you need to help you in your self-storage journey. That is releasing early January. We are running a promo through the entire month of January where you can get that membership for the year for half off. So stay tuned for that. And in spirit of the holidays season, we are doing the 12 days of the SBOA. So the first 12 days of December, we are going to go live on our social media channels, and we are giving away tons of goodies and gifts to our members and our followers, our vendors as well. It can be anyone in the self-storage industry. So if you like and follow us on all of our social media channels, you'll be able to see that fun, not a contest, it's just a fun thing that we're doing for the holidays. If you ever have suggestions or need help on certain content and categories out there, you can email that in to the info@the-SBOA. If you need help with feasibility studies and you want us to do a feasibility study webinar, send us in that information. We want to help you guys. Again, follow us on all the social channels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Eventbrite, Twitter, formerly Twitter, X, formerly Twitter, LinkedIn, and our newest channel, our silly channel, TikTok, with some fun videos. Stay tuned for a couple closing videos we have for you. We will see you next week, Thursday, December 7th, back here for Self-Storage Unlocked at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, getting ready for 2024. Keep your eyes peeled for the 12 days of the SBOA and our new enhanced membership program for you to sign up. Again, $9.99 a month, super inexpensive. We can't wait to share the new features with you. It's going to give you a elevated experience as an SBOA member. So thanks for joining us again for an educational session. We hope to see you next week and beyond. Have a great rest of your Thursday. We'll see you soon.
StoreEdge software by Storable is an all-in-one solution that includes comprehensive tenant relationship management, embedded tenant communications, easy-to-use reporting, and corporate management tools, which are helpful if you run a complex business with multiple facilities. And with its intuitive navigation, this browser-based facility management system is a solid foundation for all of the other products Storable powers to empower you to run your business better.
Thank you for calling Self-Storage. This is how may I help you?
Yeah, and do you guys have any storage available, places, spots available?
You said you're looking for a parking space?
No, I need some storage. I'm moving to town, and I need to put my house in there, or my apartment, I guess I should say.
Okay, absolutely. Are you looking for an air-conditioned unit or a non-climate?
I think non-climate. I don't think anything in there is probably that, sensitive.
All right, and so with that, our non-climate units with the drive-up access, we have the largest being 10 by 35s, and then down from that we have 10 by 30s, 10 by 20s, and 10 by 15.
Yeah, maybe a 10 by 15. I mean, it's actually a 10 by 20.
A 10 by 20? All right, and those are starting at $269 base.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.